Michela O'Connor Abrams is the CEO of MOCA Plus, an advisory practice focused on building brands through the lens of design. Michela was formerly the CEO of Dwell Inc. I know we have all heard of that. Modern media brand that she built from a small startup magazine to a global media brand on 6 platforms with a community of 2 million design trade professionals and design-centric consumers. Michela advises startups and brands as they navigate the path to growth and holds lots of fabulous positions on boards all over the design industry. Michela, welcome to the stage, and I'm going to let you introduce your panelists.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lori. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Our panel on holistic design started quite some time ago. In fact, we were reminiscing, and I was sharing with them that it was a KBIS of 2012 that I talked about how important it was for a client and a designer to have a relationship that was as essential and connected as any other relationship in that client's life, whether it was the dog walker and the nanny and the chef. Whichever group of people were completely germane to their lives. Why weren't designers? Why was it just about engaging during a project? What was it about the relationship which is so essential to each person's design authenticity, which I know that whole word is starting to bother me. I'm sure it bothers you too, but because it's been around too long. So we'll think of a better one. But you know what I mean. It is one that has to be connected when the best work gets done and when the client wants to hold on to you as if they shouldn't do anything else as it regards any part of designing their life without you. So we have the great fortune today of being on stage with a client and her designer who have been together for 15 years and are completely emblematic of the relationship about which I speak. They absolutely know this. So we will get into exactly how that developed. What is that magic? What is it that each of us can learn from this relationship that has been so rich in its history, rooted in good design, and in completing a succession of many projects that even continue? So, without further ado, Antoinette Bond and Jackie Bethke, welcome to the stage. I would love it if each of you would give a short introduction and tell our audience about yourself.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm so happy to be here this afternoon. My name is Antoinette Bond. I live in Boca Raton, Florida. I used to live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, who's been in business for myself for over 22 years. And I always tell people that I'm a real basketball wife. And so that's the big piece, that my husband's a former NBA player and a motivational speaker. And so when we talk about design and talk about holistic projects and working with a team of people, that's so natural to me. And it's what I've done for the last about 29 years of my marriage, is always working with a team. And I'm happy to be here today with my design teammate, who's Jackie.
My name is Jackie Bethke. I've been in the industry for about 35 years. I am a unique design firm because we do architecture and we run our interior design parallel with the actual architecture process. So we're able to work with the client, the builder, and kind of make that process a lot more fluid than it is normally. I was fortunate enough about 15 years ago to meet Antoinette and Walter through a builder's model who I did the design for, and they came through the model and they loved my work and they called me out for an interview for their first project. And our projects have included doing their vacation condo, doing their lower levels, doing new construction projects, and also partnering with Antoinette on her own adventures into the real estate industry. She's just recently bought another home that she's going to turn into a rental, and just being her friend during that process and trying to help her with selections and picking out things that are going to be relevant to that project.
Wonderful. So I think we should begin with, everybody is going to want to know, how did this relationship start? So we know it started with that first meeting, and I'm sure appreciating the fact that your history also with architecture and engineering was really elemental to working with them as a process. But what did that first interaction look like? How did you know each that you wanted to work with each other in the first place?
For me, the question that Jackie asked my husband and myself the first time we met, her, and I don't know if she knows this, but she asked us the question, oh, what are your favorite hotels? And for us in our business, we came from a background, we travel all of the time. And we had a list of hotels that we were like, oh, we love this, this, and that. When she asked us that question, it was paramount because it shifted my mindset. Because before Jackie, we had other designers that I would engage. And they were more in that model of, okay, I'm working on this, do that. It was very project focused. But when she asked that question and she came back and she created something to make us feel like we were in that type of space, that was so uniquely different that it made us where it's like, okay, she's my kindred spirit, she's my person, and she goes everywhere I go.
For me, I think that the process of the interview, I had an innate connection to them as a client, and I could feel the difference in both Walter's energy and Antoinette's energy. But I knew that they were going to work together very, very well as a couple. And they were going to live during this first project in the home while it was being done. So that was really important to me, and I knew that they were going to survive the process.
Okay. So the discussion that we know so many designers have at the very beginning, right, is what are the expectations, budgets, etc. What, other than asking Antoinette and Walter about what hotels they love, what else did you need to know in order to make sure that you were going to build the relationship to have them as a long-term client?
I think that's different for every customer, right? But I had the privilege of having worked for other athletes before, and so obviously when you meet somebody, the things that you see about their environment, their size, things like that. But what I want to know from people when I get into that first interview is I want to know what kind of cars you like. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? If you could travel any place in the world, where would that be? What kind of hotels do you like? What's your favorite restaurant in the place that you live? Because that tells a lot about who you are going to be as a client. It tells me if you're going to want a 20-minute chair or a 2-hour chair. It's going to tell me if the furniture that you have now is not going to work because she's 5'2" and he's 6'5". There are just so many dynamics that you have to look at and you have to observe. And sometimes it's not the question that you're asking them, it's listening to their answers to hear what they're trying to tell you are the problems. Because that's really, as a designer, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to solve a problem that they have with their space and make it better.
So to that, and you were talking about how to listen, right, and make sure that what you aren't doing is anticipating the next question that you can answer, but really listening. And I think that, well, I'm making an assumption here, Antoinette, that there are times when you aren't in the middle of a project. That you may have a lot of succession of projects, which is fabulous. But what does the conversation and the relationship look like between these? What do you do, Jackie, to continue to feed that? I mean, obviously, after 15 years, you've also become friends. Mm-hmm. So that becomes much easier. But for that first few years, what did the connective tissue, if you will, look like between those projects? What were you interacting with Antoinette about?
Well, once you're connected, and we got connected on the first project initially, well, then she's on our guest list. So we would have parties. She's at every party. She comes to Florida. We met in Minnesota. I traveled to her wedding in Arizona. I've spent time with her and her family. I know her family. She knows my family. So I think the fact that the friendship, the relationship budded into a friendship, so we know each other. So we became very intimate with each other. And when you're intimate with someone, one, I'd never cheat on an intimate person. And therefore, that's why she's my person. She's a part of my team. And so I go around and I collect people all the time that are part of my team. And that is, she fills that space and that void.
I think I've watched her children grow up. Recently, I made a trip to Antoinette's home when Walter's mother was in the process of her last few months of life. And it was incredible to see that family unit come together. But it was also very joyful for me because I realized that the space that I created was able to support that family all being together during a very difficult time in their life. But I think another thing that's been really important for me is I'm constantly watching. I'm constantly listening. When I'm invited to a party or I'm meeting their friends for dinner or they invite me to go to a conference for a client that they're coaching, I'm learning something from them. I've also been a client of Walter and Antoinette's through this process because the process has not been perfect on every project. There's been conflict. There's been things that have come up throughout the project where we've had to have difficult conversations. If you have a strong relationship with your client, you shouldn't be scared of those conversations. You should be able to have those conversations with your client and you resolve them and you move on. And it's not what happens during the process. It's really what happens at the end of the process. Are they happy? And when you're a small business, you don't have a lot of time to go out and find new clients. And you want to hope that if you're working 70 hours a week for the first decade of your business, that it's going to get easier because otherwise you're going to burn out and quit. So I think that, I have learned some formulas through their business models and how they coach people that I've then turned around and applied in my own business.
Well, in fact, to that end, I mean, Antoinette, I think everybody here would love to have you as a client for so many reasons, but not the least of which is you are a successful entrepreneur on your own, right? And a business coach. So Jackie knows how you're thinking and has been able to understand really quickly, it seems, how she can learn from you and Walter, right?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
So both of you speak to what should a designer be thinking about what they can learn from a client, not just about things that inform the project, but things that really help your business grow. What are those basic strategic anchors, if you will?
Well, in our business, and I actually just came out with a book I co-authored with my husband on teamwork. And so in all of these projects, and especially when you're a business owner, we are looking for people to partner with us, and everything we do is a good teammate. And so if everyone always operates their business in every relationship and really see it through the lens of teamwork, then I think that will help you realize that, it's important for me, one, to recognize it's a mutually benefiting relationship. And because I value what Jackie brings to our team, I'm at the point where when I first met Jackie, I thought a sofa may have only cost $3,000. Now I recognize I need a $25,000 sofa to be happy. So that's what I would say, that you find the perfect teammate, you get a chance to teach them, but you know what? I'm teaching at the same time. And you should be learning, because there's certain areas that I get why, okay, this is why we need this because of our size, my husband's size, how we live, as Jackie referenced. But I think it's always going back to a really embracing team, embracing the people that you work with, not only in your office, because that's a big part of your team. But you got to really work to see your client as a teammate as well.
Ditto.
Yes, I only can sit on a $25,000 sofa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so as we talk about the 15 years of the relationships and the projects, the technology and just the things that you see on this show floor have changed and grown, evolved exponentially, right? So how do you both keep up with that? Do you consider, Jackie, that you are really her information bank on all of the new things, or do you enjoy keeping up on the same thing? What does that look like in terms of tracking innovation in your design process?
Well, I think one thing, if you are a designer or a builder or an architect and you're doing long distance projects, you need to leverage your clients. So you need to make sure that you're leveraging their ability to help you find suppliers and vendors to actually execute on the projects. And that is how I think Antoinette and I and my other clients, we work together. So she actually is a great resource for finding people to actually install products and, finding people to actually execute on the things that I design. We work really well together. I generally do most of the specifying of all the products, but then I'll say to Antoinette, well, here I got a price for this. Do you have anybody that, you might want to consider using? So we become collaborative. And, I'm not going to be shy about saying, like, I'm in this business to make money. So, we have an understanding of how I'm going to make money in the process and how Antoinette's going to help save herself money in the process, so that when we get to the end of the project, we're both happy. I've made money, and she's got an amazing finished product. And that's really the synergy that we have with each other as client and designer.
Got it. So the other thing that comes in here as it regards sourcing, and you talk about the team, Antoinette, and so it's that you are also bringing people into this team after you're designing it, other people to actually execute on that design. And so that is also done collaboratively?
Absolutely. I would say when you ask about how do we utilize technology, I love that now. If it's something from a light fixture install or some funky LED lighting or something we do very cool, all she does is create a nice video, sends it to the electrician or the plumber or whatever needs to get done, and she just talks in the camera and explains to them what needs to get done. So with nowadays, especially with so much movement, you have so many people traveling and having second homes or different homes in different places, you definitely got to utilize the technology. And then in teamwork, you got to have a high level of trust. The trust is everything. And I know she needs to make money, so I'm not out to make sure she doesn't make money, but she knows I like to save money. And so I think it makes a very beautiful relationship because we're making sure we're both meeting our agenda.
I think, too, that you have to set up that expectation up front. So, we started doing projects together where my office was in the same city. Now we have offices in Montana, Scottsdale, Minneapolis, and Wisconsin. So it's not easy to have those long distance relationships and nurture them. So using technology to your advantage is crucial to success. We do videos to update people because now everyone likes to text. People don't like to pick up the phone and call. But let's face it, most of our relationships as a builder, client, designer client, architect client, they're a human relationship. So I work really, really hard on making sure that everybody is well informed, and we can do that with video.
So in this incredible relationship that you both have built, well, and it's actually more than just the two of you, right? Walter and other teammates. And you alluded to, when there are tough spots, you have to be willing to have that conversation. Can you share with us one of those tough spots and what that looked like?
I can. When Antoinette and Walter started the second phase of their project in Boca, I sent a proposal out to them for all the materials on the project. And I got an immediate call, faster than I've ever gotten a call from Antoinette, because she saw the proposal and she was sticker shocked. Now, that was a difficult conversation because I thought the pricing was very reasonable for what she was doing in the project, and she got the price and she went AWOL. So that wasn't a fun conversation, but the important part of our relationship is that we could talk through it and I could let her understand why the price was what it was, and she wanted to go out and try to find ways to get the same material for less money. She used her resources through their business to find a way to purchase the tile for less money and do a trade out, and I was happy because I got the product that I ultimately wanted for finishing the project. She was able to save some money doing that, and I still got compensated. But getting that phone call from a client say, "What are you thinking? I am not going to spend $45,000 on my tile for my bathrooms." And I'm sitting over here thinking like, well, the project deserves this tile, and the neighborhood deserves it, and you deserve it. And so we ultimately both got what we wanted, but we laughed about it after, but it was difficult.
And to piggyback off of that, I would say probably the hardest conversations are budget conversations. And I think a lot of times when you're the client and you get a price from your designer, sometimes you're sticker shocked. And I think because of the trust and the relationship, as I said, you learn to evolve. Honestly, a part of your job is to educate and teach your client the why. And I think Jackie does an amazing job of always communicating the why. And so therefore, I'm always like, all right, we'll figure it out. We got it. Yeah.
So if anybody else is doing the arithmetic, we're at $70,000 for a couch and bathroom tile.
I have a funny thing to say about that. So the one thing that I've used, the one statement I've used from learning both of my clients' personalities is whenever Walter doesn't like how much something costs, I literally will look at him and said, "Hey, Walter, you need to get back on the bus." So that's code for this is going to happen, Walter. You need to go out and do another speech. You need to go out and write another book, because I really do have their best interests at heart. But sometimes you have to find humor in it when you have to find a way to have a relationship. Like, I know my nickname is Money Pit, so... And that's okay. I'm providing a professional service, and it does cost a lot of money.
And to go piggyback off of that one more time, I think it's so important as a designer or anybody that's really providing a service, because we do it every single day in our business. You have to be so confident in your service and your knowledge base of what you're bringing to your particular clients that when they ask you, wait a second, now why is it this cost or why is it this? You got to have the confidence to support that price. And so that's one of the foundational elements of anybody that's in entrepreneurism. You got to be confident in your numbers, confident in your service and what you bring to someone else.
One of the statistics that I'm so pleased is inching up, but I was so hopeful at the beginning of my career running Dwell and really doing it to champion the profession of architecture and design, was that at that time only 4% of homes in this country were built with an architect and only 8% with an interior designer. And we are now, actually, interior designers are up to 22%, and architects are at 7%. So the part of MOCA Plus is owning a design research company called Design Insights Forum, and we do a longitudinal study every year to really track the value proposition of the designer in this client-designer relationship, be it residential, multifamily, or commercial. And one of the things that comes up and just came up in the study from 2022 was that the understanding of the long-term value and investment was what the client needed most. That it wasn't that they couldn't resist having the latest kitchen technology, right, in ovens and induction and power. It was really understanding what would that do to the long-term value of the property. And when then asked of architects, they could answer that question. Designers said, that's above my pay grade. What do you say about that?
That has been probably the heart of my business. Is I go to every convention. I have been here for 4 days. I stop at every booth. I have amazing relationships with all of the vendors, and I actually book out my time. I spend 20% of my time on research, development, and knowledge and learning. 20%. So that means I'm laying in bed at night not reading a novel. I'm reading the bulletins, I'm reading publications, and it's just innately within you. As a designer, the people that you serve are really the builders, the architects, and the clients. So you need to be as knowledgeable as those professionals. In my case, I have to be more knowledgeable than them because the types of projects that I do are normally with materials that they haven't used before, or you can't go to Pinterest or Instagram or Houzz and, look at a picture and figure it out. So there's a lot of that, and that is how you make yourself valuable to the client, to the builder, and to the architect. So, I would never minimize knowledge. Knowledge is power, and it gives you a place in the relationship between the client and their builder that is not replaceable, really.
So the whole idea that 20% of your time is basically in R&D that you bring then to Antoinette, Walter, and your clients, what platforms are you using to keep that a fluid communication?
We use a program called Google Drive, and we have built our own infrastructure within it to actually store folders, and we have roughly 2,500 folders in there. And within those folders, we keep all specifications on all vendors and the types of products that they carry so that we can be very efficient with finding information that a builder might need or that the client might need if they're working with the vendors directly. We also use Pinterest, we use Instagram, we use TikTok, we use all of the platforms that are available, but the biggest way for us to store information that's valuable to all of our partners is to store it in a manner that it's easy to find. I've been in this industry long enough to know when I used to only like to go to my design library and have it all organized by category and pull out a catalog and I'd know right where to look. Unfortunately, those times have changed. So we've had to adapt to a different method of doing that.
And then I want to ask you both about, in this holistic design relationship, with sustainability being such a driving force in design right now, and arguably we went from green to saying, okay, let's retire that hackneyed word and go to sustainability. How much is that a part of the discussion between the two of you?
It's never come up. I think that, again, holistically, we all want to be kind to the earth, and we all want to get rid of water bottles, but let's face it, people are hiring designers and architects to create spaces for them, and sustainability is not always an option. If we can, reuse products or donate them to other, entities that can, use them in other ways, we do that. But I am not 100% on that train yet, because I think that limits our ability to create the best project.
So that, to me, is also a message to the exhibitors here, is to make that more clear and accessible so that it isn't a sacrifice to have that as one of the major tent poles, if you will, of your design. Finally, let me ask, so as you're thinking about your next project,
Oh, yeah. I'm always thinking.
what does that look like? Is that changing? Is there some project that you're dying to do that you have not activated yet that's going to be a part of this relationship that we will all mouthwater over and want to follow you?
Oh, absolutely. We have two projects we're working on, because as soon as I walked up and saw her, we just bought a Airbnb project that we're working on that's in Fort Lauderdale. And as soon as I saw her, she's like, "Ooh, I got the perfect value products that I'll show you while we're here, that we can put into that project." So immediately, that's one project. And then we have a major project of redoing our kitchen. And so I'm excited. She introduced me to True, to a new brand. Last year, we implemented that, and I know some good things will come from that. So she's always cutting edge, always thinking about opportunities to really reignite and energize a space. Absolutely.
Take that.
I think it's easy. I mean, when you have a strong relationship with your client, I think that when I see something, again, we use a simple Google Drive where I park things when I know they're going to be for a past client. Like, I know there's another opportunity in my business to do another project. So I park inspiration in that client folder under inspiration or under future projects, and I will plant products there, and that's part of my sales process, because then when I see a product and I know there's another project for them to do, or they're building a carport, or they're going to put a cabana on, I can send they'll say, "Well, we'll do that next year." And then I send a product to her, it's part of the sales process. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, I love that. We weren't going to do that till next year, but what color should I get?"
Let's do it now.
So I think that it's not just the relationship that works. It's also a thought. It's a constant thought, and it's constant selling on my part. Mm-hmm. And knowledge is how I sell, but also by always thinking the easiest clients, you guys, are the clients that you've already worked for. Mm-hmm. They're the easiest clients to sell to again. And so you can't stop selling once you finish the project. You have to continue to foster that relationship. You have to continue to, maybe they didn't buy the art or the sofa or the dining table when the project was finished because they were out of money. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to try to sell it to them. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest sale. You already designed what you thought would be the perfect thing to be in the room. And so that's how I think about Antoinette. She's always a client. It's not in between projects. They're always a client. And I'm always thinking about, what can I do to further enhance what I've already helped them to accomplish.
And I would say to add to that, thank you, Jackie. That is well said. I think the nice thing, too, what she does very well as a designer, when she talks about this the folder and all the information she keeps on us, when I call her, we're never starting at ground zero. It's always like adding these layers. And I can tell you, I've worked with different people throughout my time in working in the industry or working with different designers before I really connected to Jackie. But each time it's almost like you're a new person. And so I think that's the part that I look at people like, well, no, I'm not new to you. Why are you treating me like I'm new? And so the fact that she does carry it over, that's what makes it a very continual. So we really have a nice circle, a nice flow. Because, right, if we didn't do it in 2022, well, heck, okay, we'll do it in 2023. We're coming. All right? Keep the flow.
So, Jackie, you, and then I will ask the same of you, Antoinette. Go back to your younger self just starting your business, because we have a number of young designers, looks like out of school or just new into their practice. What are the three most important things they must do to be as successful as you are?
The three most important things, I think they're really easy for me, and most of them have been learned through failure. So they've been learned by dropping the ball or having a bad experience with a client or a builder. Number one is organize your time and be true to organizing your time. Don't cheat. 20% of your time needs to be spent on your business. It needs to be spent working on your business. And I learned that from the bonds. So that's number one. You need to put your time into buckets. You need creative time. You need time to work on your business. You need time to work on getting new clients. You need time to work on building your business model. No matter if you're a single practitioner or you have a small team of 2 to 5 people, you need to be taking time out to make sure that everybody on your team is working to their highest caliber. And I needed to do that when I was working all by myself, doing every single thing. I had to put my time in buckets. Number 2, you need to take care of yourself first. So remember that you're in this to make money. This is your career. This is what you're in it to make a living and to accomplish your dreams. And when I started in the business, I was so passionate about it. I came to Las Vegas in a 1962 Ford Fairlane with some of my architecture friends, and we came up and presented to Steve Wynn, and we all dressed up like the Wizard of Oz, and I was so passionate about it. I, went and got a dog from the Humane Society and showed up at the trailer, and we got the job, and I was just out of school, architecture school, but I really had no idea what that was going to look like and how that was going to project onto my career 30-some years later. But opportunity, constantly be looking for opportunity. For me, if I wouldn't have met a man in a coffee shop that worked here in Vegas, I would have never had that opportunity. So always be face-to-face. Always think about human beings. Always introduce yourself. Always tell people what you do. And always be confident looking for those things. So I think those are my 3 things.
Okay.
Fabulous.
And I would say my 3, I'm a business coach. So you, as a provider of a service, you're a coach. I think it's so important for everyone that runs a business and operates a business. You need to first see yourself as, I am a coach. I am teaching people, I'm coaching them, and I'm elevating and giving them new knowledge. And if you're focused on being a coach, that means you're going to always get some new information. Number 2, make sure you're always thinking in terms of scaling. You need to think about scaling your business, because one thing I've learned when I work with a lot of business owners who do not make scaling a priority, they never stop and really create strong systems and processes. Every business needs systems and processes to succeed. So you got to look at your business all the time. I always say, look on it from the sky, look down on your business, and discover your gaps. You want to know your gaps, and you want to fill them up as quick as you can. But you're a coach, and it's your job to go build a high-performing team.
Well, thank you so very much. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I have, meeting Antoinette and Jackie and learning more about a successful relationship that you two can employ in your businesses. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time and sharing with us.
Thank you for having
us. This was a
us.
treat. Thank you.